Hello, everyone. Let's talk about sales. What does sales have to do with the economy, with economics? Well, remember, economics is the study of the efficient allocation of scarce resources which have alternative uses. And if you're going to be a good economist, you have to be able to look beyond just the immediate consequences and look to the second, third, fourth stage. You have to be able to look beyond the first stage, and you have to be able to see things which are not easily seen. You have to be able to see the unintended consequences. To give an example, the very popular as far as principles of economics goes, broken window fallacy, how if someone throws a rock through your window, you can see the rock, you can see the broken window, you can see the guy come out and fix the broken window. That's all stuff you see. Very easy to understand, very difficult for a lot to realize that the money you've spent to fix that window does not grow the economy. You haven't created any new wealth. You've just replaced a window you had already had. You haven't gained anything. You're worse off because the money you had to spend to fix the window is money you no longer have available to spend on anything else you wanted to buy. And all of the stuff you could have bought, you might have bought, and all of the income that those merchants might have earned, that's what you can't see. You have to be able to recognize that stuff if you're going to be an effective economist. So let's look at how any of this applies to a business. Well, remember, businesses only exist to make money. Okay, so any business, before they figure out what kind of service they're going to provide or what kind of good they're going to manufacture, they have to first make up their mind that there are enough people willing to buy that good or procure that service at a price that'll cover their costs. They have to be confident that there are enough people available and willing, able and willing to pay the money necessary to buy the thing that you're making. They have to be able to convince investors to provide them with the funds necessary to get their business off the ground. Well, you're not going to be able to convince those investors unless you're really confident that there are enough people and you've got some numbers to back yourself up. Maybe you've done some market research of some kind that you can then show, say, hey, look, here's all of this, all of these people who would benefit from this thing. They've said they'll benefit from this thing, so we want to make this thing and then, make money off of them by giving them what they want. All right? Well, once you've decided that there are enough people who want what you're able to make or the service that you're able to provide, that then justifies you getting the investment and then getting the business started, now you've got to convince people to come and buy your stuff. So that then brings into play the whole concept of marketing. What's the point of making a good or providing a service if nobody knows that you've made it or nobody knows that you have it available? So they're not going to buy it from you. They have to know. So the very first part of marketing is the advertising, right? You've got to get it out there. People have to be made aware that you've made something that could benefit them. So think about all the ways that businesses reach out to potential clients. You've got print media, billboards and magazines and newspapers and even the internet. There's print advertisements on the web. Then you've got audio, or you've got radio, or whether it's in your car or through online radio like Sirius or things like that. And then you've got your audio visual, your television advertisements, your advertisements on YouTube videos, your advertisements on the internet. There's all kinds of audio visual type ads, and the purpose of all of these things is to say, hey, we've got this thing that could help you with these situations, make your life more convenient, better, happier, whatever it is, whatever they're trying to sell you. And they're building an expectation. We want to meet this expectation you might not even know you have, right? So take a look, buy our stuff. All right. Once they've gotten your attention, once you've been informed about the existence of the thing, how then do they sell it to you? And here we've got a whole bunch of options too. You've got telemarketing, where people call you on the phone unsolicited. Kind of spin off of that is now the texting you'll get from people you don't know, whether or not they're informing you about political candidates running for local office, or the new burger joint that just opened down the street. You've got that kind of stuff. Then you've got door-to-door sales still exists. You have direct sales, where you can go to a store and find things on shelves. With that stuff, you're pretty much looking for things that they've been able to effectively advertise and market to you through print, audiovisual, and audio advertisements. So those are usually simple things that are easy to identify, easy to explain, maybe solve one problem, fulfill one need, very quick and easy, something you can communicate in a soundbite. The much more complicated stuff has the personal sales, right? Your door-to-door, your network marketing, your multi-level marketing, your internet marketing through the social media, right? Through Facebook messaging, things of that nature. Whenever you're doing a more intimate type of marketing, door-to-door, multi-level, network, all that stuff, you're doing that because you've become convinced of one of two realities. Either the product or service is too complicated to effectively advertise. You can't just create a 30-second ad or a little soundbite on a radio show, or a little print ad in the classified section of a newspaper. You can't do that. You don't feel confident you can do that and effectively explain what it is that your product or service does and how it can help people. So you need a conversation. All right. There's either that, it's too complicated, or there are a lot of other options out there. You're convinced your option, your selection is way better, and you want to prove it. Okay. An example of this, where there's a lot of other options, you're convinced yours is better and you want to prove it, is something I sold when I was in college. It was Cutco knives, right? There's tons of knives out there. You can go to a store, you can buy all kinds of knives. Cutco set up their own little marketing company, Vector Marketing, through which they did multi-level marketing with their knives, because they were convinced that if they could get in front of people and show them all the things that their knives could do that the knives you buy at Walmart can't do, then it would be more likely that people would spend quite a bit more, a premium for the Cutco knives over and above what they'd spend for your typical kitchen knives that you can buy at the store. And so they had a selection of tests. These were pretty wild, right? And they taught us all of these different tests. They had a little presentation that everybody had to memorize. And these were tests that we did with the knives, and then we could hand some knives to the client, and they would repeat it. So they had these kitchen shears that would cut through a penny, little steak knives that would cut through rope, cut through leather. We had all this stuff because they wanted to prove that it was better. All right. And this was a way for that company to break through the barriers that any salesman's going to come across when they're trying to convince you to buy something. Before you buy anything from anybody, you have to trust them, you have to like them, and you have to believe them. All right. And these are all related. It's a lot harder to trust or believe somebody you don't like. And it's really hard to like somebody you don't trust and you don't believe. All these things are related. So you've got to establish that you're trustworthy, which means you're presenting facts and you're presenting results. And if those add up, well, he said this knife was going to cut through the rope, and I just saw it cut through the rope, and then he gave it to me, and I used it to cut through the rope. Yep, he said it would do it, and it did it. That's establishing trust. And your demeanor, of course, is, people are either going to like you or they're not. You can do a lot to help them like you. Just be pleasant and be honest. But at the end of the day, you really don't have a lot of control over the whole thing. Some people, they're just not gonna vibe with you, and you're not gonna really vibe with them, and that there's nothing wrong with that. That's just the way it is. It's life. Um, but once they've trusted you, it's easier then for you to make some promises. Okay, for you to start setting expectations, saying, if you use this product, then this result will happen. And then if this problem occurs, then this will be the solution. So that if they see that take place and then the solution happens, what are they going to do? They're going to do business with you in the future. An example of this, let's just stick with the knife example. Cutco guarantees their knives for a lifetime, right? So if your knife dulls, you send it in and they sharpen it for free. So if you've promised that and then they think that their knife is duller and they send it in, it comes back and it's obviously sharper and they didn't have to pay for it, guess what? Your credibility just shot through the ceiling. Well, that's not the only thing that gets sold, person to person. Think about buying a car. Think about, a hailstorm hits and you're buying a roof. You're looking for insurance, and so you've got a variety of insurance companies trying to convince you to buy their plans instead of their competitors' plans. In each of these cases, these individuals are going to make promises to you. They're going to set expectations and prove that they can meet them. All right, by pointing out a lot of times to all of their previous clients. Look at all the reviews left by all these other people that have used our thing. Okay. Now, this then brings up your likelihood of trusting your friends and family members if they've used it more. All right. You're going to trust them more than strangers. No one's just going to go out there and randomly just start buying stuff. Especially the more expensive it gets or the more intimate it is. If it's like a doctor or a dentist, you're going to want these people that are working on your body. You're going to want to be able to trust them, and so you'll ask your family, you'll ask your close friends, "Hey, who do you use? What are your experiences with them?" You're not just going to open the yellow pages or pull up Google and just type dentist and just pick the first one that comes up. I mean, you might, but most people won't. They'll get good word of mouth. They'll get a review from someone who's already used the service. All right. Think about Cutco, multi-level marketing, right? Well, that's got a bad name. Door-to-door marketing, which is usually, things like roofing after there's a hailstorm, or a lot of times you might get door-to-door with people who are in the real estate market looking to buy houses. You might get it with electrical providers, any kind of utility, telephone and cable. You might get those guys knocking on your door trying to get you to switch services. Door-to-door, multi-level marketing have bad reputations. Why? Why? It's a genuine question, because businesses would not use that kind of marketing if it didn't work. Same thing with telemarketing. That's got a horrible reputation too. It's probably got a horrible reputation because we don't want to be bothered. We don't have a bad idea when we're thinking about direct sales because we're going to the store to buy the thing. It's a simple thing. We've already kind of done our research and we're going to go and we're going to buy it. And more than likely, we're not going to get bothered. You'll be able to go into the store, buy the thing, and leave with maybe only one or two people asking if they can help you out. And so since it's not a nuisance, we don't have a negative connotation attached to it. But we can be inconvenienced by people calling us, by people knocking on our door, by people messaging us through Facebook, things of that can annoy us. Okay. But it doesn't make the product a bad product or the service a bad service. It just makes us annoyed. That's one more barrier that those sales individuals have to overcome. And that's one more cost associated with that kind of marketing that businesses have to consider when they're trying to determine what kind of outreach are we going to use to attract clients. So the businesses that choose door-to-door, that choose telemarketing, that choose multi-level marketing, network marketing, they're making that choice because they're convinced the benefits outweigh the costs. They're absolutely convinced that they can make more money, that they can reach more people, that they can put their products into more hands by using those sales methods than they could by using direct sales. And especially if it's a complicated product, what other way are you going to be able to do it? You know, you're not going to be able to just walk into Walmart after a hailstorm and buy a roof, right? Or, you know, walk into CarMax and just, hey, the hailstorm just destroyed my car, so you know, I guess I'll just get a new one. I'll just type in my info in this computer kiosk and boom, here's a car, and I leave. CarMax is going to hook you up with a person who's going to talk to you about all your options, because a vehicle is a complicated thing. Okay. And you need to understand everything that they have available, because they might be able to help you find something you didn't know existed. You might have this idea, these are the cars I'm going to look at. They might be able to look at all of your preferences and go, well, have you ever considered this model? And that might be something that you test drive and fall in love with. And you would not have even known it if they didn't take the risk of annoying you by bringing a person into it and having them sit down and make a presentation. All right. Uh, Same thing with the roof. If a hailstorm hits, you know, your insurance company might go, okay, yeah, the hail just, wow, it really destroyed your roof, so you're going to need a new one. Well, who the heck do you hire? And do you have any idea how many roofing companies are? How do you make your decision? Again, you go to referrals, you maybe word of mouth, maybe your mom and dad or your brother or sister, maybe they got their roof and they years ago and they really like the company that they worked with. You know, you're going to do that, but no matter who you wind up choosing to come out and give you a presentation, they're still going to have to do it. They're still going to have to explain, hey, here's what it's going to take what's on your house off of it. Here's what it's going to take to put something new on. And here are all of your options. Here are all the things that we could put on your roof. And here are the prices. Here are all the things they do. You know, fire resistance ratings, wind resistance ratings, impact resistance ratings, all that stuff. You know, whether or not your insurance provider might give you discounts. There's all kinds of information, extended warranties. How are you going to find all that out unless someone walks you through the process? So if there's a product that's really complicated, or a product that uh, might have a ton of competition, there's a lot of other companies that make the thing, except you're convinced that your product is superior and can do a lot of things these other products can't. In those two cases, a company is going to want to make the whole sales experience a little more intimate, right? Make it a little more personal, not just rely on, well, just put it on the store shelf and hope something happens. Yeah, it's not always going to be that easy. I wish it could be. I mean, shoot, I'd love to just be able to go in there and just buy what I want, but I don't have, you know, I don't have all the knowledge. I don't know a lot about most products. And so, especially if it's a complicated product, I'd like somebody to be able to explain it to me. Uh, at the end of the day, it's up to the sales staff to prove it. You know, here's something that you could use. Here's how it could benefit. Okay, well, prove it. Give me the info. Give me the statistics. Give me the data. Give me the previous clients who saw the results. If you're going to sell me a roof that you tell me is tougher than another roof, prove it. Show me where it's happened. Where you've put this roof on, this kind of roof on, and then another storm hit and they didn't have to get a new one. All right, give me some examples. Oh, so you say your knife is way sharper than the typical knife. Prove it, right? Show me how it works cutting through all this tough stuff. Is it easy or is it difficult? You know, you got to prove it. You got to demonstrate it. And the more they do that, the more you trust them, the more your barriers drop down, and you feel more confident in what they're telling you. Now, of course, anybody who's in sales also has to take into account whatever regulations govern that particular industry, right? You have to be very careful. There are tons of regulations in construction, tons of regulations when it comes to health and nutrition, when it comes to financial services, when it comes to insurance. So, I mean, for example, if you're selling a product and there's a warranty that comes with that product, you have to be very careful with the way you handle that warranty discussion, because a warranty and an insurance policy are not the same, but they can confuse the client. The client might think, well, but something went wrong, so the warranty should cover it. And if the thing that went wrong was an insurable event due to an act of God, a tree falling on the car. If a tree falls on the car's warranty doesn't cover the tree falling on the car. All right, it can't. So even if the warranty company wanted the warranty to cover the tree falling on the car, they can't do it. Not in the state of Texas, because it separates starkly what a warranty is allowed to do and what an insurance policy is allowed to do. So that's an insurable event. So you've got to go to your insurance provider to get your car fixed. You can't go to the warranty and say, okay, give me a new car. Regulations define that conversation. Regulations define any kind of product or service that might cause some unexpected positive consequences. If your product or your service results in, let's say, A to B, okay, you take A, B is the direct result. If C comes about because B happened, you're going to be very limited with how you market that, because the regulatory body that governs your industry might be very, very focused on you only communicating that A caused B. The transitive property, if A causes B and B causes C, then A causes C. It works in math. You'll be able to do it in your algebra class. You're not necessarily going to be able to do it in your sales presentation. You have to pay close attention to whatever regulatory body governs your specific industry. You've got to follow their rules. It doesn't matter if it's the truth. What matters is whether or not it's legal. Otherwise, you'll get fined. You'll get in trouble. You might get fired from your job. So you've got to be very, very cautious, and kind of rely on the feedback from your clients. Okay, so if they've experienced those unintended positive consequences, they can talk all they want. They're not selling it. They're simply saying, hey, I bought this thing. It did exactly what they said it was going to do. And then also this other good stuff happened as a result. They can talk all they want to. You're limited. You're limited by what the law tells you you can say. So keep that in mind. I know the world is complex. There's a lot of systemic interactions, which is another thing I talk about in another video, how we live in a complicated world and everything's interacting with everything else. But there's a time and place for that kind of conversation. And in a sales presentation, you got to look at whether or not you're stepping on regulatory toes, because the government will go after you. They're very jealous of their territory. And once they've set rules, they like those rules to be followed. And if they're not, then shoot, man, you've got a target on your back. Heck, look what they did to Microsoft back in the 90s. They charged Microsoft with being a monopoly, even though, there were tons of companies that did what they did. Here's what happened. This is a good example, I think, about being careful handling regulatory bodies. So Microsoft was selling their operating system, and they plugged in their Internet Explorer web browser into their operating system. So you just kind of got them bundled together. Netscape claimed that Netscape was another internet browser company. They claimed that was unfair competition. That was monopolistic. It was driving them out of the market. They did not have the right to bundle those two products together, even though all web browsers were free. You could choose whatever web browser you wanted, go to their site and download it, and it didn't cost anything. All right. Well, the Department of Justice took Netscape's case and sued Microsoft, claiming that they were engaging in anti-competitive behavior. All right. So Microsoft then had to defend themselves in court against a bunch of people who had no idea how the computer industry worked. They were guilty until proven innocent. And when you're guilty and you presumed guilty until you prove yourself innocent, that gets everything backwards, and it's going to be very, very hard to do, which is why companies want to avoid it. All right. You don't want to get the government suing you, already claiming you're guilty, and then have to get in front of a judge who doesn't understand your industry, maybe a jury of people who don't understand your industry. And you've got to now sit there and explain to them how your industry works, how your company works, and why you shouldn't be in trouble. Who wants to sit there? Who wants to sit in that seat? I don't want to sit in that seat. Okay, so how easy is it to explain the good or service that you provide? How easy is it to prove that the thing that you say it does happens? And how quickly can your questions be answered? If you can explain it fast, it's easy to prove that the results happen, and any questions are going to be very few and very quickly answered. Then you can sell that thing on a store shelf. You can just post advertisements, put them on TV, put them on the internet, and you'll be fine. Direct sales will work really, really well for you. If any of those three things is difficult, then you're going to need an intermediary. You're going to need a sales associate. So if it's hard to explain, or it's hard to prove, or questions are going to be numerous and very slow to answer, like it's going to take you time to explain all the answers, you need a professional. You need somebody who has had experience presenting this material, whether it's a car, knives, whatever. You're going to need that individual to have a one-on-one. All right, sit down and have a conversation with you. Think about the way pharmaceutical companies and medical technologists sell drugs and sell technological advances. They have to have sales reps. This stuff is way too complicated to just, put on TV. You can put it on TV to tip off the client, tip off the patient that there are drugs that can do something. But for all of the side effects, for all the know-how of how the drug works and costs and all that stuff, you're going to have to go to your doctor and talk to them. Notice all those advertisements tell you, ask your doctor about, fill in the blank, because the doctor is assumed to know. The doctor knows because the company sends them dedicated sales reps that make the presentations, provide them all the materials, provide them with the troubleshooting calls and all that stuff. Same thing with any kind of technological advancement in medicine, some new radiology machine, some new surgical assistant tool, anything. Again, you're going to have a complicated presentation. Someone who knows the product inside and out can prove to the doctor that this will make surgeries faster, cleaner, easier, whatever. You've got to have somebody that can answer all those questions and make those presentations. You're not just going to be able, that doctor's not just going to be able to go to a store, go to Hospitals Depot and just start picking out stuff. I hope this makes sense. I hope this helps shed some light into why this kind of stuff is necessary, why door-to-door sales happen, why telemarketing happens, why multi-level marketing exists. In those situations, the company has made up their mind that it's too difficult to explain. It requires time and effort to prove that what they're saying is real. And there are going to be a lot of questions, and the questions need to be answered. And so we've just got to have somebody. We've got to have somebody talk to you on the phone, or we've got to have somebody sitting in your living room. We've got to have somebody having a conversation with you in an office, something. Somebody's got to have a conversation with you to get all this information that you need in order to make the decision for your own benefit, right? Whether you buy it or not, you want to be as informed as possible so you can make the best decision for you. And sometimes that requires somebody knocking on your door, making a phone call, or reaching out to you through social media. Doesn't necessarily make it less of a hassle, but it makes sense. It's logical for companies to do this. Door-to-door sales, telemarketing, and multi-level marketing or network marketing, they make sense. There's a logical reason why companies do those things. If you have any questions, let me know. If not, great. If so, let's get them answered. Hope you have a good rest of your week. Talk to you later.